Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 165 in the book of Genesis. Today is about what will you do about your sin? What happens on the day of reckoning? So we're going to enter the story where Jacob tells his sons to get off their butts and go down to Egypt and buy grain, except he holds Benjamin back. And they, against their knowledge, they end up at Joseph, the son that they sold into slavery 25 years before. So Joseph was the seller of this grain. And they end up bowing down, and they don't recognize him. Joseph recognizes them. And his brothers have been stewing in this guilt for 25 years. Joseph has gone from about 17 years old exactly to maybe 43 years old by my calculations here. So they have this interaction with Joseph, but they don't realize it, Joseph. But they do understand one thing about Joseph is that this reckoning that's happening is because of Joseph. So now, in fact, they say it. So now there comes a reckoning for Joseph's blood 25 years before. So Joseph is going to imprison all the brothers. He lets them go so that they can go fetch their last brother, which is Simeon. But during this time, the brothers get this, kind of revelation. They get this guiltiness, and they understand why they're in this pickle. That is, a reckoning is due. So today is about that. What happens when you realize that, you're sinful and that a reckoning is due for sins? So one of the things I like about the Old Testament, love the Old Testament, is just general principle is that the lessons come at you a little bit slower. So we're going to see this lesson about reckoning come at us basically in slow motion. Genesis chapter 42, I'm going to start with 22. This is where the light bulb comes on for the brothers. So now there comes a reckoning for the blood of Joseph. They did not, Joseph understood them, for there was an interpreter between them. Then he turned away, Joseph turned away from them and wept, and he returned to them and spoke to them. And he took Simeon from them and bound him before their eyes. And Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain and to replace everyone's money in his sack. He's going to make them more guilty by this. And to give them provisions for the journey, and this was done for them. Then they loaded their donkeys with their grain and departed. And as one of them opened his sack to give his donkey fodder at the lodging place, he saw his money in the mouth of his sack. He said to his brother, "My money has been put back. Here it is in the mouth of my sack." At this their hearts failed them, and they turned trembling to one another, saying, "What is this that God has done to us?" When they came to Jacob, their father, in the land of Canaan, they told him all that had happened to them, saying, "The man, the Lord of the land, spoke roughly to us and took us to be spies of the land. But we said to him, 'We are honest men. We have never been spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father, no more. The youngest is this day with our father in the land of Canaan.' Then the man, the Lord of the land, said to us, 'By this I shall know that you are honest men,' which they're not. 'Leave one of your brothers with me, and take grain for the famine of your households, and go your way. Bring your youngest brother to me.'" So he wants to see Simeon. "And then I shall know that you are not spies, but honest men, and I will deliver your brother to you, and you shall trade in the land." As they emptied their sacks, behold, every man's bundle of money was in his sack. And when they and their father saw their bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob, their father, said to them, "You have bereaved me of my children. Joseph is no more, Simeon is no more, and now you would take Benjamin. And all this has come against me." Then Reuben said to his father, "Kill my two sons if I do not bring them back to you. Put him in my hands, and I will bring him back to you." But he said, my son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he's the only one left. If harm should happen to him on the journey that you make, you would bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to Sheol." So the brothers are made more guilty by having the bundles of the money that they were going to give to Joseph put back into their saddlebags. And Jacob realizes that they're in a difficult place. Joseph has made a hostage of their son Simeon in Egypt. Now the rest of the brothers have grain, but they didn't pay for it. So now, in a sense, they're even more guilty. Now they're thieves of Pharaoh's grain, and they just keep getting further and further into this pickle. So now all of them are imprisonable, they're due punishment, and they realize and actually verbalize that they have waited 25 years for the reckoning. So here's the teaching point for today, is there's always a reckoning for sin. So if you've ever sinned, if you've ever carried the weight of your sin for 25 years or 25 seconds, if you've ever not paid for something that you took, a reckoning is coming. There's this accurate calculation. A reckoning means an accurate calculation, sort of a summing up of hidden, ignored, forgotten, but it's going to be accurate someday. So there's going to be a time when payment is due. So there are, big point here, there are no unseen sins. So there's going to be no calls for justice, because perfect justice is going to be done. And this should terrify us. So all sins are going to come to a reckoning. So either your reckoning or the reckoning of Jesus. And so you can say, wait a minute, Jesus is willing to be wrecked for my sins. Jesus takes the punishment of my not so secret sins to him. And Jesus offers to take the reckoning of sin that's due me. So you got to go through the process. Hey, I'm a sinner. I've got a problem. I've got a long laundry list of sins, stuff that I even forgot. The time for reckoning is coming. A time for payment of the reckoning is coming. And we all have to ask the question, what will you do about your sins? So you have kind of two choices. One is payment by you. And, no person is good enough to survive this reckoning versus the holy payment by Jesus. It's like, this is a great deal. Where do I sign up for this? Where do I worship this God that has come down to take the penalty for those that receive it? Now, here's the kicker, is you got to receive it, which is to say, receive him. Believe in him. So in the big question, what will you do about your sin? What will you do when you stand before the judgment seat? I'm going to say, I'm with him. I'm with Jesus. He's paid this in full. I trust him. I don't, deserve a lick of it. And if you're a believer, you should be standing in awe and gratefulness. But if you're not yet believer, you pretty much should be standing in terror and nakedness, because a reckoning is due from everybody. So we watched these guys, these 10 brothers, in this slow motion reckoning where they realize that they carry this guilt that they can't pay. And remember, no sin goes unpunished. So our final point here is we should be running to Jesus. Call on him, throw yourself on his mercy. And it's only through him that you don't get what you deserve at the reckoning. Thanks for listening.